I never thought I'd end up here, not like this. But I guess it all started when I found that trail, the one that wasn't on any map, hidden deep in the woods near my cabin. I'd been out there a dozen times before, hiking, fishing, or just trying to escape the noise of the city. But this time, something felt different. It was late afternoon, and the sun was slipping behind the trees, painting the forest in long, sharp shadows. I had decided to explore farther than usual, past the usual clearing in the old fallen log where I sometimes rested. The air was thick, heavy, with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. I stumbled on a narrow path, barely more than a scrape in the dirt, that twisted deeper into the woods. Curiosity pulled me forward, even though a cold knot tightened in my stomach. The trail wasn't like the others I'd walked. It was almost unnatural. The trees around it looked twisted, their branches reaching out like fingers. The farther I walked, the quieter the woods became, until even the birds and squirrels seemed to vanish. I reached a small clearing and froze. In the center was a stone altar, covered with strange carvings I didn't recognize. Moss crept over it, but something about the way it stood there, untouched and waiting, made the hairs on my neck rise. There were scorch marks around it, as if something had been burned right there. I stepped closer, heart pounding. A chill ran through me, and then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. I spun around, but there was no one there. The silence pressed in on me. I wanted to turn back, but the trail behind me seemed to have disappeared. The underbrush, thicker, blocking the way. That's when I saw them. Figures, tall, cloaked in dark robes, stepping out from the trees. They didn't speak. They just stared. Their faces were hidden beneath heavy hoods. I backed away, but the circle tightened. My breath came out in shallow gasps. I wanted to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. One of them raised a hand, and the others fell silent. Then, in a voice low and rough, the figure spoke words I couldn't understand. Something old, maybe ancient. Suddenly the forest around us seemed to shift. The air thickened, the shadows lengthened, and the strange carvings on the altar began to glow faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. I realized then that I was not just lost in the woods. I had stumbled upon something much darker, something alive. I don't know how I escaped that day. Somehow, I broke through the circle, stumbling blindly through the trees until I found my way back to my cabin. But the images haunt me. The chanting voices, the glow of those symbols, the cold eyes behind the hoods. And now, I can't stop thinking about what I saw, about what I didn't see. Because those cultists, they were waiting for me to come back. And I think I have to. I tried to convince myself to forget about the trail, the altar, the cloaked figures. But sleep refused to come easy. Every creak in the cabin sounded like footsteps. Every shadow stretched and twisted into those hooded faces. 3 days passed. I stayed inside, doors locked, windows shuttered, trying to push the images out of my mind. But the woods outside seemed to breathe, whispering to me through the cracks in the walls. Then last night something made me go back. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted proof I hadn't imagined it all. Maybe it was the pull of something I didn't understand, a dark curiosity, or something worse. I took my flashlight and a small knife and stepped out into the chilled night air. The moon was thin, almost a sliver, barely lighting the path ahead. The forest greeted me like a silent predator, leaves crunching underfoot. As I moved deeper, my heart hammering like a trapped animal. The trail was there, faint but unmistakable. The dirt was disturbed, like someone had been moving through recently. My breath steamed in the cold air as I followed the path, eyes darting to every shadow. Then I heard the chanting again, low, rhythmic, echoing between the trees. My pulse quickened, fear and fascination fighting inside me. I moved closer, creeping toward a clearing bathed in flickering torchlight. And that's when I saw them again. The cultists, dozens of them this time, arranged in a circle around the altar. They chanted in a language I couldn't understand, but their voices were hypnotic, almost beautiful in their darkness. The altar was stained with fresh blood. I saw it glisten in the firelight. At the center of the circle was a figure tied to a post, struggling weakly. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. The cultists' faces were hidden, but their movements were purposeful, cold. My instincts screamed at me to run, to get help, but I was rooted in place, watching. Suddenly, one of them turned and looked directly at me. For a moment, I thought my presence was discovered, but the figure only smiled. A slow, cruel smile beneath the hood. Then the chanting resumed, louder now, overwhelming. My flashlight flickered and died. I fumbled to turn it back on, panic rising in my throat. I heard a voice whisper close to my ear, breath icy cold. "You shouldn't be here." I spun around, knife raised, but no one was there. My mind reeled. Had I imagined it? Was it a trick of the night? Then I saw movement behind me. Another figure, stepping out of the shadows. This one wasn't cloaked. His face was pale, eyes dark and hollow, and a twisted smile spread across his lips. "Curiosity is dangerous," he said softly, voice like gravel. I didn't answer. I wanted to scream, to run, but the forest held me captive. He took a step closer. "But you came back. That means something." I swallowed hard. What do you want from me?" He laughed, a sound that grated like nails on stone. "We want only what you already carry inside." My head spun with questions. Inside me, what could he possibly mean? Suddenly, the chanting stopped, the circle broke, and the cultists began moving toward the trees, disappearing into the darkness. The man reached out, grabbing my wrist with a grip like iron. "You'll join us soon," he whispered. I jerked free and ran. Branches clawed at my face and arms. My lungs burned, but I didn't stop. I just ran, through the woods, away from that clearing, away from the cult, away from the nightmare I'd uncovered. But the truth is, I don't think I escaped. Because now, no matter where I go, I feel their eyes on me, watching, waiting, and I know this isn't over. After that night, I didn't sleep for days. Every shadow in my cabin seemed alive. Every whisper in the wind a secret message meant for me. I kept looking over my shoulder, convinced those pale eyes were tracking my every move. And then I noticed it. A mark. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, a scratch on my skin from the underbrush, but when I caught my reflection in the cracked mirror, I saw it plain. A strange symbol burned into my forearm. Black, jagged lines forming a shape I didn't recognize but felt impossibly ancient. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. I'd tried to scrub it off. Soap, scrubbing pads, even a knife to scrape the skin. Nothing worked. The mark wouldn't fade. It was like the forest had branded me. Panic settled in. I needed answers. But who could I turn to? The police. They'd think I was crazy. Friends. I'd lost their trust long ago. No, this was something I had to face alone. So I went back to the woods. During the day, the forest seemed calm, almost innocent. Birds sang. The wind rustled through the leaves. But I knew better. I was looking for that altar, for any clue about what the mark meant, and why the cult had chosen me. The trail appeared again, more obvious now, almost like it wanted me to follow. The trees arched overhead, forming a tunnel of shadows that swallowed the sunlight. I reached the clearing. The altar was different. The carvings glowed faintly, the same black light as the mark on my arm, and around the base, fresh offerings lay scattered, bones, feathers, dried herbs. Then I heard footsteps, slow, purposeful. From the trees emerged the man from before, not cloaked this time. His eyes were sharper, colder, and he smiled with cruel satisfaction when he saw the mark on my arm. "You carry the gift," he said softly. "The mark chooses its bearer. You cannot run from it." "Gift?" I asked, voice shaking. He stepped closer, brushing a finger lightly over the symbol. "It binds you to us, to the forest, to the ancient power we serve. It's a blessing and a curse." I wanted to pull away, to scream, but my arm throbbed painfully, like the mark was alive beneath my skin. "Why me?" I demanded. "Because you saw what you weren't meant to see," he replied. "Because you have the eyes to understand." He gestured toward the altar. "Tonight, you will join us, or you will become one with the woods forever." Fear twisted my gut. I turned to run, but the forest closed in around me, trees shifting impossibly to block my path. The man's voice echoed in the darkness. "The choice is yours, but time runs out. I'm writing this now, hiding in the cabin, waiting for nightfall. The mark burns hotter with every passing minute. And I know they'll come for me again, because some things in these woods don't want to be disturbed, and some powers don't forgive." Night fell like a shroud, thick and suffocating. The cabin, my only refuge, suddenly felt like a cage. Every creak, every shadow a threat lurking just beyond my sight. The mark on my arm pulsed painfully, like a heartbeat beneath my skin, reminding me that time was running out. I tried to steel myself, pacing the floor, searching for some way out, some plan. But the truth was brutal. I was trapped. The forest wasn't just around me. It was inside me now, seeping into my bones and whispering dark promises I couldn't ignore. Then, just as the clock struck midnight, the chanting began. Low, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. It seeped through the walls, winding around the cabin like a living thing. I peeked through the window, heart slamming against my ribs. They had returned. Dozens of cultists moving silently through the trees, hooded and solemn. At their center was the man, the one who marked me, holding a small, ornate dagger that gleamed with a strange, unnatural light. My breath caught. The tied figure from before, the one in the clearing, was there too, kneeling on a bed of leaves, eyes closed, lips moving in silent prayer. The cultists began circling around the figure, chanting louder, voices rising in an eerie crescendo, and then the man's gaze snapped toward my window. I ducked, heart in my throat. They knew I was watching. They knew I was hiding. Desperation surged. I grabbed my knife, preparing for the impossible. The door burst open. Cold hands grabbed me, dragging me into the night. The world spun as they pulled me toward the clearing, toward the altar, toward the fate I had been dreading. The man held the dagger up high, its blade shimmering in the torchlight. "You are chosen," he intoned. "Tonight, you cross the threshold." I struggled, but their grip was iron. Then, from nowhere, a voice shouted, "Stop!" A woman stepped into the circle, her face pale but fierce. She was different. No hood, no robe, just wild hair and eyes blazing with defiance. "I won't let you take him." The cultists hesitated, murmurs spreading. The man sneered. "And who are you to defy the covenant?" "I'm what's left of the forest's true protectors," she said, her voice shaking but resolute, "and you've twisted its power for your dark purposes." She moved forward, and suddenly the altar cracked, glowing brighter. The forest seemed to stir, roots writhing and branches bending as if alive. The cultists recoiled, fear flashing in their eyes. In the chaos, I wrenched free and ran, deeper into the woods, away from the circle, away from the altar. But even as I fled, I felt it, the mark burning hotter than ever. Because whatever I was now, I was no longer just a man. I was part of something ancient, something dark. And this nightmare isn't over. I ran until my legs gave out, collapsing beside a gnarled root in the thick underbrush. My breath came in ragged gasps, the cold night air biting at my skin. The forest around me was eerily silent. No birds, no insects, just the heavy pulse of something unseen. The woman from the clearing appeared beside me, moving like a shadow. Her eyes were fierce, but there was a strange kindness beneath the wildness. "You're lucky to be alive," she whispered. "Most don't get a second chance." I looked at her, desperation and confusion swirling inside me. "Who are you? What's happening to me?" She hesitated, then nodded towards the woods. "There's a secret buried beneath these trees, older than any of us. The cult is just one part of it." She pulled out a worn, leather-bound book, its pages yellowed and filled with strange symbols. I was once part of their order, until I realized what they truly worship. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in. A force older than man, a darkness that feeds on fear and sacrifice. The altar is a gateway. The mark you bear is a tether, binding you to it. My skin crawled. "Can it be undone?" She shook her head. "Not easily, but there is a way to fight back, if you're willing to risk everything." As she spoke, I felt the mark burn brighter, pain stabbing through my arm like a living thing. "We need to return to the altar," she said. "Tonight, when the ritual completes, the gateway will open. If we don't stop them, whatever lies beyond, it will be unleashed." I swallowed hard, heart pounding. I don't know if I'm ready. She smiled grimly. "You don't have a choice." Together, we moved through the dark forest, shadows stretching like fingers. The line between reality and nightmare blurred as the ancient power pulsed beneath the soil. I knew one thing for sure. My life would never be the same. We crept back toward the clearing, the forest alive with whispers and shifting shadows. The air grew colder, thicker, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The cultists were gathered, their chants rising in a dreadful harmony that shook the ground beneath my feet. The altar glowed fiercely now, black flames licking the air, casting grotesque shapes against the twisted bark. The woman grasped my arm firmly. "Stay close. You must resist the mark's pull." But I could feel it, a dark hunger clawing inside me, urging me to step forward, to join them, to become part of something eternal. The man who had marked me appeared again, eyes blazing with cruel triumph. "You belong to us," he hissed. I fought the compulsion, heart pounding, memories of my life flickering like fragile flames. With a cry, the woman raised her hands and began chanting in a voice that sliced through the night like a blade. The cultists faltered, confusion spreading through their ranks. The ground cracked, and from the altar, tendrils of shadow snaked outward, writhing like living things. I felt the mark burn hotter than ever, pain and power crashing through me in waves. Summoning every ounce of will, I shouted, "No!" The shadow tendrils recoiled, the altar shuddered, and, with a blinding flash, the gateway collapsed inward, swallowing the dark flames and silencing the cultists' chants. The forest exhaled. The woman looked at me, eyes shining with exhaustion and relief. It's over, for now. But I knew better. The mark was still there, pulsing faintly, reminding me that some doors, once opened, never truly close. As dawn broke, I stood alone in the clearing, the weight of the forest's secret pressing down on me. And I understood. My life was forever bound to the darkness beneath the trees.